In the bustling streets of Verona, Italy, two powerful families, the Capulets and the Montagues, are locked in a bitter feud. From the very beginning, the tension between these two households is palpable, and as we dive into the story, it becomes clear that this ancient grudge has brought nothing but violence and chaos to the city. Amidst all this hatred and conflict, a young Montague named Romeo sneaks into a grand Capulet party, and it is here that fate takes control. At the party, Romeo's eyes fall upon the beautiful Juliet, a young Capulet, and in that instant, everything changes. The two fall hopelessly in love, unaware of each other's family ties. This instant attraction feels almost magical, as though they are destined to be together despite the bitter feud between their families. But as their love story unfolds, it becomes clear that their path will not be easy. Romeo and Juliet's love blossoms in secret, and soon after their first meeting, they decide they cannot bear to live without each other. They plan a secret wedding, hoping that their union might somehow end the hatred between their families. With the help of Friar Lawrence, a kind and wise priest, the two are married in secret. But while they are filled with hope for a future together, the world around them continues to fall apart. The streets of Verona are still dangerous, and soon after the secret wedding, tragedy strikes. Romeo's close friend Mercutio is drawn into a deadly fight with Tybalt, Juliet's cousin. Romeo, desperate to keep the peace, tries to stop the fight, but in the chaos, Mercutio is killed by Tybalt. Filled with rage and grief over his friend's death, Romeo forgets his promise of peace and kills Tybalt in revenge. This act of violence sets off a chain reaction of events that will haunt the young lovers. Romeo is banished from Verona as punishment for Tybalt's death, and this leaves Juliet devastated. Though she is heartbroken, Juliet remains determined to be with Romeo no matter what. As the lovers' situation becomes more and more complicated, they begin to make desperate decisions to stay together. Juliet, faced with the prospect of marrying Paris, a man her family has chosen for her, turns to Friar Lawrence once again. He devises a dangerous plan. Juliet will take a potion that will make her appear dead for 42 hours, and during this time, Romeo will return to Verona, and the two can escape together. Juliet agrees, and after taking the potion, she falls into a death-like sleep. Her family, believing her to be truly dead, lays her in the family tomb. At this point in the story, you've probably noticed how fast things are spiraling out of control. Just when it seems like there might be hope, tragedy strikes again. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into Romeo and Juliet *, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay updated with more detailed breakdowns of literature's greatest works. Now, back to the story. Romeo, who is in Mantova at the time, never receives the message about Friar Lawrence's plan. Instead, he hears that Juliet is dead. Heartbroken and in total despair, Romeo buys poison and rushes back to Verona to see Juliet one last time. When he arrives at her tomb, he finds Paris mourning her death. Paris, unaware of Romeo's secret marriage to Juliet, assumes that Romeo has come to desecrate the grave. The two fight, and Paris is killed by Romeo. In the tomb, Romeo gazes at Juliet, who still appears to be dead, and speaks his final words before drinking the poison and ending his life. Moments later, Juliet awakens from her deep sleep, only to find her beloved Romeo dead beside her. Overcome with grief and unable to imagine life without him, Juliet takes Romeo's dagger and kills herself. The deaths of Romeo and Juliet bring the two feuding families together at last, but at a devastating cost. As they stand over the bodies of their children, both the Capulets and Montagues realize the futility of their hatred and make peace. But it is a bitter and painful peace, forged out of the deaths of the young lovers. Their love story, brief and tragic, is one of the most famous in all of literature, reminding us of the destructive power of hatred and the strength of love, even in the face of impossible odds. And that's the heartbreaking tale of Romeo and Juliet. The play leaves us with a haunting question. What could have been if the hatred between their families hadn't torn them apart? If you want to explore more timeless stories like this one, make sure to subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns and discussions on literature's greatest works.